Share screen here. So good afternoon, everyone. We're really glad that you could join us here during a reading period for our final session of the Secrets of Career Success series. Today, we're going to be talking about kind of your guide to, we titled this topic, your guide to a high impact summer. And before we kind of kick things off and talk through the outline today, I want to do some introductions because we do have some people here who are going to be sharing resources with you today. So I'll start, my name is Jacklyn Fischer. I use she, her pronouns, and I am an assistant director in the Career Center here. I specifically work with our healthcare and medical professions career community and our physical and natural sciences career community. And I'm really excited to talk about this topic with you all today. I'll turn it over to Mandy, my colleague.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I am Mandy Netzel, Assistant Director, Employer and Alumni Relations here in the Career Center. My main work is working with external partners to secure the signature internships that you'll be hearing about today. Also external partners in internship sites for some of the social and environmental justice cohorts, which we'll be talking more about. And then working with students and directly with the advisors to help you find those placements. So excited to share all of this with you today. And we also have Peter Blitstein with us here today. So Peter, I'll have you go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
I'm Peter Blitstein. I'm Associate Dean of the Faculty, and I teach in the History Department. And more importantly, I administer Chandler Senior Experience Funds, which are grants for students completing distinctive senior experiences or honors projects, which often happen partly in the summer, which is why I'm here to talk a bit more about that.
Thank you.
I can introduce myself.
Yes, please
too.
do, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm Michelle Bookinger, and I'm the coordinator in the CCE and the Career Center. So in the CCE space, I help support the programming in that space. And then on the Career Center side, I help support experiential learning funds.
Thank you for introducing yourselves. So what are we going to talk about today? I want to kind of walk you through what you can expect from our conversation today. First, we want to be able to provide an overview of the Career Center to some of you who maybe haven't engaged as much with us. Then we want to get into a conversation about what do we mean when we talk about a high impact summer experience and the type of experience that we really want for all of our Laurentians. And then we'll be really kind of digging deep into some of the funded opportunities that we have here at Lawrence for you to get that kind of high impact experience for the summer. And we'll be finishing things out with some of our own tips and best practices for a successful application for some of these funded opportunities, and give you all time to engage in some question and answer as well. So you have a lot of people here in the room who are very involved in these different applications and can provide some insight into each of these different programs. And so the Career Center, just want to kind of briefly mention, the Career Center is a space for every single student here at Lawrence to begin to explore who you want to be, what you want to do, and we're here to really help you move along that path to get to that end goal that you have for yourself. And so we're here for career exploration. We're here for kind of helping you connect to opportunities that will help you get closer to the goals that you have in mind. And so you can come into us for one-on-one career advising. We can review your application materials like resumes and cover letters. We'll help you with practice interviews if you have an interview coming up. We'll help you even with graduate school applications if you want to talk through, or if you have questions about what the timeline is and wanted to talk through things like personal statements and CVs for graduate school. We also help with internship searching, research opportunity searching, and a full-time job position searching as well, and kind of support you through that entire application process. And we also are definitely a central hub for connecting you with employers and alumni who really want to come in and talk to you and be a resource for you in different venues as well. And so if you do not have to have everything figured out to come and talk to us. Even if you just want to come in and say, I have no idea what I'm doing or what I want to do, and we can start there. There's an entry point for everyone along your path here. And so if I were to say anything about the Career Center, we want to see you early rather than late, because there's a lot of different resources that are at your fingertips that you'll begin to understand here today as we talk about the different opportunities we have here at Lawrence. And so one of the ways that we really support students in the Career Center or try to provide some more specialized support is by through the use of career communities. And so we have 8 different career communities here at Lawrence where you can join, and these are broad kind of career umbrellas for you to be able to join a career community and explore in a judgment-free space. You'll get curated content by joining. You'll get a bi-weekly newsletter with opportunities specific to those career communities. You'll have access to all of our advisors specialized in different career community spaces. And so you can talk to someone who has a better sense of that particular career track or a field, and a better sense of some of the alumni that we have in those different areas as well. And so highly, highly encourage joining a career community if you haven't already. And so you don't have to pick just one. You can, if you're interested in exploring a lot of different things, you can absolutely join more than one. And the way you can do that is through your Voyager account. So this is just a screenshot. So when you go to your Voyager account, you'll see a student services tab, and then you'll see a career communities and volunteer causes tab. And when you click on that, you'll see all of our career communities, and you can choose up to 3. And so I would definitely, double check and go into your Voyager if you're not sure, see which career communities, maybe they've changed, maybe your interests have changed over time. And so you can always update and change or remove ones as you gain further clarity as you go through your experience here at Lawrence. And so now the time for our conversation of today. So the topic of today is talking about a high impact summer. And I think that it's important to define what we mean when we talk about a high impact summer experience. And so when I'm thinking about a high impact experience for you all this summer, I'm thinking about the impact that it has on you, right? So what I would really love for every single one of our students to have this summer is an experience that challenges you and helps you learn and grow, an experience that helps you build substantive relationships with either faculty here at Lawrence, faculty elsewhere, or other professionals in your field of interest, an experience that provides you with rich feedback for your growth and development, and an experience that helps you kind of take the knowledge, everything that you're learning in your classroom here at Lawrence, and allows you to apply it and adapt that knowledge to new areas. And so with that kind of in mind of what a high impact experience would look like, I want to give you all space to take a moment before we even kind of dig into what the different opportunities might look like for you this summer, to think about your own goals for this summer, right? Because before you can begin to plan, it's helpful to know what you want to get out of a summer in that very important window of time that you have in those 3 months. And so if you wouldn't mind just jotting down, or even you can engage in the chat if you're willing to share. I would love to read that and read through your reflections to kind of adapt and cater our conversation today. But if you want to take a minute to think about what would you like to learn this summer, or what skills do you want to develop or further develop this summer? What kinds of experience, do you want to gain experience working in a healthcare setting? Do you want to gain experience in a wet lab, or particular specific types of experiences that you really think would be helpful in your journey? Or what kind of connections or people that you want to connect with this summer as well? So if you want to take a minute or two just to think about that before we jump in, that would be a good way to kind of frame for our conversation. And I'll be looking at the chat too if you want to share. You can also unmute yourself.
So I'm a senior, so I've already been through this. I just thought my residents are first year residents. So I thought this would be super useful for them because I already went through this process. And these questions were so useful for me when getting an internship last year. And the first thing that I really wanted to look for in an internship last year was I was just asking myself, do I want to be a teacher? And maybe I should get an internship that will really demonstrate it and answer this question if this is what I really want to do. Because I was having a lot of questions about what I wanted to do after college. So it actually gave me a good overview of what I wanted to do. And honestly, this question is amazing.
Well, and we didn't pay Gabby to say that, but I'm glad that these questions are important to you, and you definitely hitting on this, that notion of the importance of getting experience in a particular field to make sure that that's what you want to do and what you want to pursue long term. That's a great use of your summer for sure. I see some great comments. I want to meet more people in my ethnic studies and gender studies fields, so connections in your academic worlds. I would love to boost my investment skills. So if that's an interest in skills here, those are great things to kind of guide your thoughts about what you might want to do this summer. Any other folks want to share?
Is there anyone that doesn't know? I mean, it's also okay not to know what you would want out of next summer, and it's okay to, come in and talk about that as well.
Yeah, if these questions are hard, definitely, as Mandy mentioned, you can come in and sit in our chairs in the office, and we can help you figure out and think and clarify some goals, even if it's just getting some exploration experience to start to begin to understand what it is that you want to do. And interest in education or the humanities. I'm not sure how that would relate to a summer internship. Well, hopefully, Anna, there will be some things that you'll hear about today that will help you think about how a summer internship might help you explore either education or the field of humanities. Thank you all for sharing. And so we'll kind of jump in. So we have lots of opportunities here, even through Lawrence, where you can begin to develop skills that you mentioned, explore fields that you mentioned, make connections in areas that are interesting to you. And another thing that I would really love for everyone is to get paid while you're doing these and exploring these things, right? These are key months. I know everyone wants to earn money and should be earning money for summer opportunities. And so there are definitely other opportunities outside of Lawrence where you can get paid. Some really great internships, some really great research programs that some of you maybe learned about at one of our previous sessions a couple of weeks ago. But there are also plenty of opportunities here that are funded through generous gifts of Lawrence alumni and other donors who are really making or expanding the list of options that you have for you. And we really want to make sure that you all know about some of those as well. And so one of the first things that we have available in the Career Center for you is experiential learning funds. And so experiential learning funds it's basically a funding source that provides you with students up to $5,000 to support unpaid or low-paying internships or other self-designed projects to further your career exploration and career development. So if you're interested in education and you want to work for an education, you find this really great internship with an education nonprofit, but it's unpaid. This funding source can allow you to secure the funds that you need to be able to make money this summer and also pursue this internship that really excites you or interests you. And so we see definitely unpaid internships in more of the nonprofit space than for-profit. But even if you're looking at a low-paying internship that I don't know how I'm going to make that work if I'm only getting paid $750 for this summer, you can also apply for additional funds to offset the expenses of doing that this summer. And so lots of different ways that you can use this fund. We distribute a lot of money from this fund. So over $150,000 annually gets distributed to students. Last year, we funded almost 100 students through the Experiential Learning Fund. So lots of opportunities for our students here. In the application process, you would complete, it's an online application, and you would have to fill out a project description. So really kind of give us an insight into what the project would be, what the internship is, the name of your supervisor, because again, we want to know what your supervising experience is going to be, because we want you to have that mentorship over the summer to provide that feedback to make this a high impact experience for you. We want you to clarify what are your learning goals, because ultimately we want to fund projects that are really connected to your own goals for learning and development and professional growth. And then we'll have you submit a budget to really kind of break down what the expenses would be of the program and how much you would need to receive in order to make this possible for you over the summer. And so the application process, the application will open in January. And then there will be a priority deadline of March 5th, where you'll get the priority review. And if funds continue to exist after we go through that initial pot, the applications will be reviewed on a rolling basis until April 8th. Mm-hmm. And Michelle, who's on the call, is a great resource for you if you have questions, but you can also, if you want to talk specifically about a project or an idea or filling out your application, we would recommend that you make an appointment with your career community advisor to talk through the details, and we can help support you through the application and help you kind of think through your project descriptions and whatnot. And so just to give, Mandy, were you going to say something?
If I could just jump in and stress again that the important time to get started is really right now, because by the time January rolls around, you're going to want to be ready to submit your project, have an idea of, where you're going, what your budget needs are going to be, things like that. You don't want to be in a position where you're just starting to apply for positions or think about your project after the start of the year. The December break is a great time to do this. And you certainly can, I'm not saying that you couldn't apply for something and get it within 2 weeks and still submit. If that happens, that's great. And you can still submit up to the deadline, but don't put yourself in a position where you need to be stressed out about finding a project. So that's why we're really trying to get started now, to start thinking about, how can we help you apply and identify some different experiences that you might want to have, so that, shortly after the first of the year, sometime in February, and you can be submitting for these funds. The other thing that I want to cover, I think, Jacklyn, is these funds aren't necessarily guaranteed. So you submit your application and then they're reviewed by internal committees. Each fund source kind of has different guidelines regarding the type of projects they want to fund. So I would say that your chances are good, but not guaranteed.
And also just to say sorry, Jacklyn.
No,
as Mandy was saying, you don't need to have it all figured out of exactly what the project is going to look like for you. That's why it's so important for you to get in and meet with an advisor, because then from there we can help align what your passion is to a project. So just don't worry if you don't have it all figured out. That's our job on our end. We have over 24 different funds to try and align the project to. So chances are we can help you. It just takes you coming in and visiting us over at the Career Center.
Thank you. And so I think it's helpful even to begin to understand, what could a project look like that's funded with Experiential Learning Fund. So this is just a quick sampling. So, if you wanted to volunteer with if you wanted to intern with a nonprofit organization that really aligns with your passion and area of interest, arts organizations that typically don't have a lot of funding resources to hire paid interns. Even if you wanted to propose a research project or a project in industry, you could absolutely submit something for that, especially research projects. Like maybe there's a faculty member at a different university that really you have been able to connect with. You're really interested in doing work with them. You could propose, like, would you be willing to take on like a student research intern for the summer, unpaid for them, but paid through us, where you could get that experience from an external source. So lots of different pathways that you can take. And again, as Michelle mentioned, if you just have a general interest area and you don't know where to start, this is where you can come and talk to a career advisor and begin to think about what are some particular organizations where I could put out some feelers to propose an internship project or another project.
Yep, we've seen over the years students doing a lot of really cool work. So as you're reading this list, I mean, really put yourself in the shoes of these students. These are Laurentians. These are students who have worked in a brewery doing quality control work, who have, written for a national review, students who have collected data right in that industry area of, mental health, homelessness, and incarceration. So the possibilities are really endless. And we have a lot of opportunities, especially through Handshake, that come through for internships that are really obvious, but we also have connections to a lot of alumni that, are doing really cool work, or, have those examples that we can connect you with.
We also have a special experiential learning fund that has a slightly different application process that I wanted to note for any of our students who are interested in getting medical career exploration experience and different types of training in the medical professions. And so the Castle Trust Fund supports research projects, medical field internships, other types of medical training. So that might include formal training for CNA certification, EMT certification. And that application is rolling. And so you can apply for these funds throughout the year. You don't have to wait until January to begin to submit an application and finalize some plans. So in terms of the award decisions around this, we certainly consider all applicants and all applications, and are really looking for this direct tie to the medical field and the type of experience, and really making sure that it's a learning experience for you. But financial need is a consideration in terms of thinking about the award amount, especially if you don't have financial need, you can certainly apply, but you are probably less likely to get a large award amount for things like CNA certification coursework. And so some examples of how this has been used, it can really be, you can get creative. So a lot of students, the most common use of this fund is definitely CNA certification. We encourage students to do the CNA certification coursework through Fox Valley Technical College because it's the most affordable option. You can live here on campus, and if you have financial need, we can provide funds to support you being able to live on campus while you're doing the CNA certification course. And the classes are offered at Fox Valley Tech throughout the year. Most of our students choose to do things during the summer, and there are different courses offered at different points in the summer and at different locations throughout the Fox cities because they have multiple campuses. But you can also think completely outside of the box. And so we have a student who's going to a base camp hospital outside of Mount Everest and doing an intensive medical shadowing experience over winter break. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can use these funds. And I would really love to meet with anyone who wants to get creative and think about submitting some cool projects for this. But again, like that application is going to be a project description, your learning goals, and your budget. And this committee is really looking for those learning goals. How is this going to be an intensive, immersive learning experience for you over the summer, that high impact experience for you? And so if you have questions, this is in my wheelhouse since I support the health and medical professions career community. So you can come and talk to me or email me if you have questions and want to apply for Castle Trust funds specifically. I'll hand it over to Mandy.
Before we hop into signature funded, does anyone have any questions before we keep going, or should I just keep rolling? Okay, well, feel free to put anything. Okay, yep, feel free to add anything as we go along, and we'll definitely answer those questions as you have them too. But we also have access to a handful of signature funded internships, and we call them signature funded because they are specifically for Laurentians. Those follow the same application period for the most part, opening in early January with most deadlines in early March. But some of the past sites are listed here. So we have an annual internship at Carnegie Hall, a lot of conservatory opportunities here for any students there. But for the last couple of years, we've had the Safe Passage Project, which is working in immigration law. We've had the experience of Wake Forest School of Medicine, which is a public health internship. Food advocacy at Bread for the World, and some of these examples are on the next screen. But I think the thing that I'd like to mention here is that these experiences are for Laurentians, so they are not being advertised other places. With other internships, you may be competing against other individuals from Lawrence or other schools. With the signature funded, you are only competing with other Laurentians for those spots. So usually the applicant pools are fairly small, actually, smaller than you'd actually imagine, and can be just competing between like 5 or 10 students for these opportunities. So definitely take advantage of these. These are organizations that have said to us, we want to have a Laurentian working with us. They've had Laurentians working with them for the past, however many summers, up to 5 years or so. So they really, really want to work with us. And those will be posted in Handshake in early January. And you'll submit your applications through Handshake. And I think there's a slide a little bit later on that these are required to meet with a career counselor before applying. We just really want to make sure that we have your resume and cover letter in order before submitting. But then at the end of the deadline, those packets of applications are given to the partners. They review those. They'll interview you like a regular interview process, and then the candidates are chosen. So Jacklyn, if you want to just advance to the next slide, I think that's where some of those examples are. But it can really be, it's music ed teaching, it's data collection and analysis, again, food security. And then at Wake Forest School of Medicine, studying the health, safety, justice among Latinx, migrant, and seasonal farm workers in North Carolina. And most of these are with Friends of the University, some with alumni. So again, highly encourage you to apply for the signature funded experiences as well. We also, these are fairly new to Lawrence. Last summer was our first summer dabbling in our internship cohorts. And we have 2 currently. And what makes them different is that you'll be in a cohort of peers. So if you've heard anything about the social and environmental justice cohort, last summer that cohort was 12 students. We also have the diversity and conservation cohort, which we're going to talk about next. That one was a smaller pool of 3 students, but hoping to expand that for next summer. But these are cool because first, like I said, you go through with a cohort of students, but then you actually have faculty support in learning and career center support for career development simultaneously. So you're working through the summer and having weekly meetings with a faculty advisor, engaging in programming through the career center, doing some fun things with the different sites who are sponsoring interns. So, some field trips we're envisioning for the future, or different employer informational sessions. So really just an opportunity to learn a lot from other students who are working in a similar situation, but also the opportunity to explore and kind of see the different areas of employers that you could potentially go and work at in the future. So the social justice and environmental justice program is taking place either in Milwaukee or Appleton. So most of the sites were in Milwaukee this year, I think with one site in Appleton. And Professor Brozak headed up that on the faculty side of things. Again, you know, you'll see some similarities. All of these experiences really opening in January and closing, you know, February, March. So thinking about winter term as a time to apply for those. And again, it will be open through Handshake. And if you have any questions about those programs before they open, you can definitely get a hold of me, and my email is there. Is there anything you would add there, Jacklyn, about the cohort?
Yeah, so the social and environmental justice internship cohort, I do want to add. So these are organizations, you would be interning with an organization that has a social justice or an environmental justice focus. And so these weekly cohorts that you would be engaging with your peers, you're able to have the conversations about what does justice work look like at different organizations? How am I furthering social justice or environmental justice in my work as an intern? What could a career in this space look like? And so lots of time for you to reflect on what kind of justice work could look like for you in the long term. But the other thing I would say about this cohort, you would apply, but you don't necessarily have to apply with you don't have to come with an internship in hand or a program that you want to work with. You would apply to the program, and then we get to have the conversation with you if you're accepted into the program about what type of justice work do you want to do? What is a good fit for an organization? And we do have some organizational partners, as Mandy mentioned, that we can refer you to and some direct connections. But say you do have an organization, maybe you really, you're from Milwaukee and there's a social justice focused organization that you already know of that you have been connected to and want to work for, we can work with you and be flexible to help you kind of create that opportunity. And you can mention that in your materials if you kind of know that there's already an organization in mind that you want to bring to this cohort experience.
Yeah, because of the structure of the program and the fact that you are going through a cohort, we will have some guidelines that you can submit to your potential internship site to just see that, yes, they would be able to provide, you know, a 12-week summer internship, you know, with a certain amount of hours. And if they can, then certainly welcome to, you know, submit that for review and potential in the cohort. But these were some of the partners that we had last summer. So Pillars is a homeless shelter here in Appleton, some Pathfinders in Milwaukee. You know, some of these legal action was more of a, you know, working with landlords and things, and kind of a law-based internship. You know, really working with, you know, again, like Jacklyn mentioned, the social justice component and organizations that have that aspect.
The other internship program that Mandy kind of referred to is diversity and conservation, which is a new program that was launched last summer for the first time. And so this is a cohort experience as well, but the focus is very much focused on conservation and careers in conservation. And so the program was established as a partnership with the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin. We have a phenomenal alum and supportive alum there, Caitlin Williamson, who helped launch this with us last summer and played a very active role in getting this off the ground and facilitating the cohort. And so the program itself is really designed, this program is designed to expand opportunities and expand representation in the field of conservation. And so interns in this program you'll be working specifically with the conservation organization in the state of Wisconsin, and Kate in the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin helps kind of compile that list and get employer partners to participate in this program and to host an intern. And while you're also interning at a site throughout the state of Wisconsin, you are meeting weekly in a virtual space with your fellow cohort members, where you get a chance to interact with Caitlin Williamson from the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin, and a whole variety of other professionals in the field of conservation who come and talk and provide some professional development conversations about what career paths might look like in various conservation organizations, from nonprofits, government spaces, federal jobs, state jobs with a DNR, lots of different discussion about kind of pathways in conservation, talking about different issues in conservation, and kind of how to make connections in the field too. There's also field trips involved in this. So you might be going and visiting a site with your fellow interns and some of the other professionals who are participating in the summer program. And so this is an excellent opportunity for students who are interested in really kind of understanding what a conservation career can look like. So the application process, since it is something that's kind of co-managed between our institution and the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin, I can't give you too concrete of details because they haven't been officially finalized with our partners, but you will be able to apply online. I can tell you that you would definitely be submitting a resume that of course I will help you review and look through, and you would also be supporting a diversity statement. This is diversity and conservation. We really want to know, why are you passionate about issues of diversity and conservation, and about expanding representation in the field of conservation. That's really important for this internship program specifically. And so likely it's going to be opening in January with the other internship programs and closing around the same time, February, perhaps March, depending on what they officially decide at the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin, and what the timing is with our internship site partners. And so last summer, as Mandy mentioned, we had 3 sites. And so last summer we had an intern here in Appleton at Northeast Wisconsin Land Trust. We had an intern at Pheasants Forever in Appleton. And then we also had an intern with Wisconsin Wetlands Association. The offices are in Madison. The experience was mostly remote, so there are potentially going to be opportunities for remote internships with this, though everything is always kind of ever changing in the pandemic environment that we're living through. And so students got to do some of our interns were much more like technical conservation, came from environmental science background. Other students were more kind of from a government background and were doing more kind of communications related work in the field of conservation too. So a different mix of opportunities there. And just wanted to highlight, so Caitlin Williamson, who I mentioned, helped us launch this, is on Viking Connect, which is our online platform for networking and being able to have conversations and get mentoring from alumni. And so you can message Caitlin directly if you have any interest in this program or conservation careers in general. Highly recommend reaching out and having a conversation, or at least introducing yourself to Caitlin, a very supportive alum to get to know.
Yeah, she is very nice, and she would gladly welcome any questions about the program. This is a passion point for her, and she was really instrumental in helping us set it up this year. So, yeah. And then we also have an opportunity to take an online course through the Harvard Business School. It's their core credential readiness program, and it consists of 3 different courses in business analytics, economics for managers, and financial accounting. And then it has a final exam. So anyone who, typically in the past we have had economic majors, but I don't think that's necessary. It's really anybody who is looking to really increase their business acumen can apply for this program and funding for it. So you would take it over the course of the summer. Eligibility to apply for this particular experience is that you have to be enrolled as a first-year or sophomore student, and your GPA has to be at a 3.5, and that is set by the program. So you have to submit the funding application, but then you also have to submit the Harvard Core application, which we can get you links to both of those. And those application dates have not been set yet. Their program has been really in flux with COVID and changing quite a bit as well. So we haven't announced those application open close dates yet. But the person who handles that application process in our office is the advisor to the business and entrepreneurship career community. And her name is Grace Kootenai, and her email is there. So for anyone who's interested in learning more about that program, Grace would be happy to set an appointment with you.
One thing I'll add to is for all of these, we will be announcing when the applications are opening via our career community newsletters that, so this one would go out for the business and entrepreneurship career community. And so that's just another reason why we really definitely encourage you to join a career community so that you're not missing out on announcements about these different opportunities and when they officially open.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jacqueline. So as a process, join the career communities. That will give you immediate access to content, and then read the content, because we are looking through internship opportunities and putting relevant ones in the newsletters by career communities. So it's easy access to opportunities that may be open to apply. And there are opportunities that are open now already for some of the career communities for next summer's internships, if you can believe that. So the process really does get started pretty early, especially for some of the career communities like business and tech. Some of the other career communities have a little bit more leeway and are opening up, early January, but business and tech gets earlier and earlier every year.
Now we want to hand it over to Professor Blitstein.
Hi, so I'm going to talk a little bit about senior experience grants, the Chandler Senior Experience Fund. These funds are available all year long, but can be used especially richly during the summer when students have time to really dig into a research or creative project that will eventually either fulfill a senior experience requirement for a major or will be oriented toward an honors project, which may or may not be a senior experience project. So these grants are up to $3,000. They reimburse a whole range of expenses, whether it be for travel, to attend a conference, or to do research, for books and supplies, lab supplies, equipment a student might need, to do something that's ambitious or distinctive that will fulfill the requirement in their major, but even more so, right? And some good examples of something that's ambitious or distinctive. For example, maybe in your major, you have to do a research paper to do your senior experience. And most students do that research in the Mudd Library. But perhaps you have an idea that would require you to travel to UW-Madison to spend some time in the library there, or to travel to Washington, D.C. to work in the U.S. Holocaust Museum Archive or the National Archive. That's something more ambitious or more distinctive, and we could fund that. Students in the conservatory who want to commission a work to perform in their senior recital would be another ambitious or distinctive idea that we would fund. So the best way to figure out whether what you want to do is ambitious or distinctive is first and foremost to talk to your faculty advisor, who is going to need to write a recommendation for this grant, to work through what you want to do, what you might be interested in, and how that might fulfill something that's a little bit different or extraordinary. So a bit more about the details. We accept applications on a rolling basis. You can really apply anytime. And depending on the time of year, we tend to get answers within a couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes us a little bit longer. If you want to travel internationally to do some kind of research or experience that contributes to your honors project or a senior experience, then we have some specific deadlines, and those are on the slide here. So for the summer in particular, it's probably best to start planning and get an application in by, at the very latest, late April, that gives us 6 weeks before commencement to make sure that you have all your paperwork in, if you need visas or insurance, that sort of thing, that's taken care of. The project proposal and budget that's required to apply for these grants, it's on the website, which is on this slide. There's a lot of sort of information in the proposal form that tells you like what we can pay for and what we can't pay for, and what you should be thinking about. But the main thing is that we do require a fairly detailed project proposal that describes the goals of your research, the end product of your research or creative activity as you envision it, and a fairly specific budget, because these are grants that fund specific, or rather reimburse specific expenses. So unfortunately, we can't pay a stipend to you over the summer, but we can pay for things that cost you money to get your project done. So you can see a bit more, a lot more detail about these, about Chandler grants on the website. And generally, I encourage you, if you're interested in this, to start thinking towards the end of your junior year, or early in your senior year, especially if it involves travel over December or spring break. I also want to mention really briefly, and there'll be more information of this coming, that we do have some, in the provost office where I work, some funds for humanities and social science research that is not a grant based on expenses, but just offers you a kind of a straight stipend that can be used over the summer. That's the Harrison Award, which is a competitive award to give students about $1,000 to do some research over the summer that they would present at the Harrison Symposium for Humanities and Social Science Research in May. And this you don't have to be a senior. You could be a rising junior, a sophomore right now, speak to me about this if you're interested, or to your faculty advisor. We also have something called the Shoulda Fund, which is something very similar, and which is for summer research in the humanities or social science. And you do not need to be a senior. It does not need to be a senior experience for you to get that, to get funded by that. And there again, we can fund up to a couple of $1,000s in a stipend that would not require receipts, or that wouldn't be related to specific reimbursement of expenses. That's all I got. Questions or?
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you. I know, just to clarify, I know a lot of the attendees here today were at the summer research session that we had a couple weeks ago. And so if we think about these in terms of buckets, and correct me if I'm thinking about this wrong, we have the bucket of doing research with a faculty member here at Lawrence, where you're really participating in their research project that they're proposing. And then we have these funds for the summer or other points in time where you can really propose your own independent research experience. And so if you feel like if you're feeling constrained by these different projects, or if you really want to pursue something, you have these options through the senior experience funds or through these other special funds that are available in the provost office.
And to add to that, so sometimes students, especially in the sciences, like in biology or chemistry or physics, we have students who start doing a summer research experience with a faculty member, say after between their sophomore and junior year, and then that experience leads them to their own research and their own senior experience, and then they apply for a senior experience grant to do their part of it. So the different kinds of things that you talked about, Jacklyn, they may not happen at the same time for a student, but there's a synergy among them. And I know, because I also manage the summer research funds that you mentioned, often it's that students start out doing one thing and then they're funded by another source of money to do something that's related to what they did, but that's their own thing.
Thank you for clarifying that and adding that. It's super helpful context to have. And so as you apply for any of these opportunities, we do have some kind of best practices or advice that we really want to make sure that we're sharing with you today. One, we definitely, and Mandy touched on this already, we encourage you to start thinking about things early, identifying opportunities or beginning to explore and network. as soon as right now, or especially it's a great use of your winter break. And so if you're not sure kind of where to get started with networking, or you don't really know kind of, you want to just explore, Viking Connect, as I mentioned before, is our alumni mentoring platform. And you can go here and start to browse, like, where do we have alumni who maybe might be willing to host, you could have a conversation. Are they willing to host someone for a summer project or a summer experience, or work with you on something over the summer, to submit for experiential learning funds, for example. But you can also just talk to people about, what are your career paths? What did you do to begin to get some ideas about what I want to do over the summer? What kind of experience would be helpful for me along my path and in pursuit of the goals that I might have specifically. Another thing, and just in terms of timeline, February is a big deadline time frame to just kind of keep it the center of your mind, because summer research is going to be due a lot of times, both external and here at Lawrence. That's a big deadline for that. A lot of our experiential learning funds will be kind of right around early March. So like kind of that the end of February is a big time, early February even for external. So just winter break. God, I can't emphasize it enough. It can be a really helpful time to get organized and start thinking about this. And we are available in the Career Center over winter break, or especially early in December, to begin having these conversations with you if you want to talk, and even have a virtual appointment from anywhere in the world where you might be. And so we definitely encourage, and in some of our programs, we require you to meet with a career advisor to discuss your application materials. And so we really want to, especially, for example, if you're applying to a signature funded internship program, you will have to meet with a career advisor to review your application materials, to really to practice doing interviewing, because when we send you out to talk with our employer partners, we want you to make sure that you're representing all of the amazing experiences that you've had and the skills that you have, and serving on almost a silver platter how qualified you are for an internship experience. And so as part of your learning experience and your professional development, we want to provide that hands-on coaching for you so you can really go confident into those conversations with our employer partners. But you can absolutely meet with a career advisor about any of these things that we talked to today if you just want to follow up and have a conversation about really preparing your application materials. And that's absolutely what we're here to do and support you in pursuing these different types of opportunities. The last thing I really want to say is you will never get the opportunity that you don't apply to. Please let other people tell you no. Don't tell yourself no and count yourself out of the running for positions. And so I think, especially if we think about our signature funded internships, as Mandy said, you might only be competing with 10 applicants, where, for some of, for working with other internships with Carnegie Hall, for example, might have hundreds, if not thousands of applicants. And so really don't count yourself out of the running. These are opportunities that are available for you. And we want to help you be a strong applicant for any of these things. So if you feel like you're doubting, you're getting into that spiral of like, oh, I'm not qualified, I don't have the experience necessary, please come and have that conversation with us so that we can help talk through that and make sure that you're really kind of preparing materials that help you feel more confident about all that you can offer to an employer and internship partner. Any additional things that people want to add to that?
No, I just want to say 100% agree with that last point. I think it's really easy to think, oh, I'm too busy, or I probably wouldn't get that anyway. But that really just isn't the case. And these experiences are so meaningful, and will give you things to talk about, when you're applying for your next internship experience. And then when you're ready to leave Lawrence, all of these are great things to have on your resume to give you the best start out of the gate. So please do it. I mean, there are so many really great opportunities, and some of this funding can support you potentially living in an area that you thought you might have never, been able to go or to explore. It can, like Jacklyn said, explore support unpaid work, whereas you might have never been able to consider that before. So please take advantage of these things that we have here at the university.
And with that, we want to open it up we have a few minutes here and want to make sure that anyone who has questions here today can ask them to any of us who are speaking. No questions from Giacomo?
I think my question with Jacklyn, if I could maybe ask this for the group is, what do I do? I mean, should I pick summer internship? Should I do research? Which way should I go? How would you advise me in
How would
that?
I advise? Yeah, so I mean, if someone were to ask that question for me in an appointment, we would really want to first start back at what are you hoping to get out of the summer, first of all. And so make sure that, but I would also say you can apply to many things. And I would absolutely encourage especially when it comes to applying for research programs, if you want to apply to some big experiential, like kind of research experiences at other institutions that are highly competitive, don't just apply to a few of those. You want to kind of cast your net wide to make sure that you are kind of in multiple different lanes for opportunities. And so you can apply to multiple ones, and that's why we try to sync up our deadlines so that you can be in this process at the same time and hear back and make an informed decision about the one that's best and most aligned with your learning goals once you have those offers available. I have one question. Is there a way to search for specific internships in specific locations, like involving theater or education? Absolutely. And so we have a search platform, Handshake, where you can search for specific locations and use keywords to look for theater or education roles. But then you can also you can meet with our career advisor in that career community to look at other different search engines that are popular for education fields or theater fields as well. For example, like I might point you to idealist.org is a separate internship platform for nonprofit organizations where you can find a lot of summer education internships available. And you might even see some unpaid internships there that then you might use as a application for the experiential learning fund. And so that's just one example, but you can definitely talk to someone in your career community if you're looking for different search engines to search for specific opportunities in different locations.
I think this is a great way to make use of Viking Connect as well. So we have a number of alumni. So I guess as a start, I would say that Viking Connect, the platform, has over 1,000 alumni in the system already. Michelle, or is it like even 1,300? How many are in there now?
Yeah, there's about 1,000 in there that can act as mentors and connectors to students in whatever career field is your interest.
Yep. So I would say that they are definitely from a variety of different industries. They are living all across the nation. So do a little bit of exploring. It allows you to search by location on the system. And then it will also give you a template to reach out and to start connecting with some of those alumni. But just make a connection and say, can we talk more about internships in your area or what, you may know about those. And I think that's a really good way to start exploring as well. Our alumni network at Lawrence is one of our greatest strengths, in my opinion. We have so many helpful alumni that, just the fact that they signed up to be a mentor on the system shows their willingness to connect. And they're always waiting to hear from you. So please use them in that capacity. If they don't know the answer to the question that you're looking for, they would most for sure be willing to connect you with others that may have the answer.
And one thing I just entered into the chat for anyone who's feeling like, oh, reaching out to alumni seems a little bit daunting and I'm not sure how to have that conversation. I have a handout there for how to conduct an informational interview, just kind of that exploration conversation to learn more about opportunities and advice that our alumni might have or anyone in your field might have. And then I got a question. This video is being recorded for those who want to rewatch it or join in. But I want to respect everyone's time here today and just thank you all. We really encourage you to apply. Please come in and have a conversation. We want you to, find an opportunity this summer that's really going to advance your learning and growth, most importantly. And so we are here to help at any step in the process. And so, but thank you. You enjoy the rest of your reading period here, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, enjoy your weekend. Thank you, Professor.
Have a good Friday, everyone.
Thanks, Michelle.